Okay, well, Katelyn, I'm really excited to talk to you today.
Thank you.
Um, are, Before we start actually officially, are you related to Brandy?
No, just knew her from the ward, and she takes like all of my family photos because she's
Oh, okay. Because I'm like, Christensen, wait a minute, maybe I should.
yeah, no,
Okay.
not that I know
Yes.
of at least.
What was that?
Not that I know of at
Yeah,
least.
probably, but not like super close.
Somewhere far down.
Well, I'm glad you got connected with us.
Definitely.
Um, okay, so do you want to? I'm getting together.
You're doing great.
This is how I have to do it. I gotta get myself together. Okay, so let's start with just talking about how did everything go with the birth of your son?
So, it actually went really well. My I didn't have like any complications, nothing. We didn't do like the genetic testing because we were just like, oh, like, we're gonna love him anyways. But then come to find out, the genetic testing that the OBs do like wouldn't have picked it up anyways. So it was
Either way, it would have been good.
a
And
surprise.
yeah, and so how about your family? Like tell us all about your family. You and your husband and your all of everything.
Yep. So me and my husband is from Spanish Fork. I'm from Springville. Our parents actually went to high school together and kind of set us up um, in a roundabout way. And we both have like two other siblings, so children of three, and our families are super close near us, so they're very helpful and lovely
That's
to speak to
nice.
in the
That's
future.
important.
Yeah,
Really,
it's
really.
helpful to have that backup, that help.
And so tell us your son about your son and his name and then kind of the progression of everything with him.
Yeah. So Kingston, like I said, he's two. We didn't find out, like I said, that he had these medical problems until he was 2 months old. When and it's really crazy. So when he was born with what they diagnosed as nystagmus, to where his eyes like go to the corners of his eyes and then they like twitch.
Okay.
And we were kind of like, oh, okay, like I guess it's normal. And all the doctors were saying like, oh, it'll go away with time. And then about his like 1 month, 1.5 month doctor's appointment, he was just like, let's get you in to see a neurologist just to be sure. And so this was like early February, and the appointment wasn't going to be till like later March. And I was feeding Kingston about his 2 month like birthday kind of thing, and he like pulled away from me and had like a legit seizure. Like eyes were twitching, lips were quivering and going purple. And so I like patted him on the back and he came out of it, and it scared me. But and I'm medically inclined, so I knew like that was weird. But like he's 2 months old, he can't have a seizure. He's just two. Um, and so like he went back to feeding, and then about 10 minutes later he did it again. So I took a video and sent it to my brother, who is also in the medical field, and I was just like, what do you think this is? And he called me and he's just like, Caitlin, you need to go to primary children's right now. And he ended up calling my husband and my dad, and they both called me and was just like, we're like, you need to go. So my husband came home from work and we took him to primaries. And it was it was really crazy because the doctors, they took us in, they did blood work, they did like an MRI and all of these scans of him, and said like, oh, everything looks fine. And then hooked him up to an EEG. And this was around like early afternoon. And then about 11 p.m. came into the room that night and was just like, so he his EEG is so different. Like he's having so many seizures. We thought that was his baseline. And so pretty much in Kingston's brain, like he is constantly having seizures. Um, they don't really stop. And we've been told with numerous EEGs that we've done that like there's so much that the neurologists are like, I don't know what that is. But so it's a little frustrating to for
Yeah.
them to be like, yeah, I don't know what's going on. But
I think that this is just kind of my anecdotal experience, but I feel like as we participate more in the medical field, we realize why they call it a practice.
Yes, yes, definitely.
Yeah. So, okay, so but then he has a genetic disorder.
Yeah.
Right?
So
And
at
how
that,
did that come about? How'd you find out
yeah,
which?
so at primaries, they were just like, so we can do this like a genetic panel and see like what's going on. And so they took Kingston's blood, my blood, and my husband's blood, and tested to see what was missing. And then it wasn't until about a month and a half later that we got a call from the genetic uh, doctors, and they told us that Kingston has like a really, it's such a rare deletion. It's on like gene 6, chromosome 6. He's like missing kind of like an arm. Um, that it's called factor one. It's like PHACTR1. Um, and they were just like, we don't really know anything about it. So it's like,
Oh,
oh,
okay. Yeah, that's nice. That's super helpful.
yeah, definitely. So
So are there any other, do you know any kids with this also? Have you reached out
yeah,
and
so my husband, a little bit after we found that diagnosis, went searching on Facebook and found like a Facebook page that there's like 4 other kids on it, like
yeah,
4 other families that their kids have this deletion.
okay.
And so, and we searched forever, like, researching of who knows about factor one, who knows about factor one. And we were told this was about like August-ish. We were told that there was a doctor in Texas that knew about it. And so we're like, well, book us appointment. And the appointment wasn't supposed to be until November. But we got a call one week in the middle of August that was just like, hey, we have an appointment on Friday. Can you make it? We're like, we'll be there. So we dropped everything, went down to the appointment. We like fly in on Thursday night. The appointment's Friday morning, and we get in and the doctor goes, okay, like we're here to talk about epilepsy. And we go like, no, like we're here to talk about this, factor one deletion. She goes, I've never heard of that before. And you're like, are you for real? Oh, it was like heartbreaking. You're just like, we just flew all the way down here for you to say you've never heard of this. And so she was really nice and like text all of her colleagues and was just like, has anybody heard of this? And a neurogeneticist messaged back and said, if they can wait until Wednesday, I can meet with them. And said he did some research right then, it sounded like, and he was just like, it looks like there's only 10 known cases of this since 2012. So then at that moment, we were like, okay, like not a single person knows about this.
Right.
So
And so that was a doctor there in Texas, so it was
yeah,
not a wasted trip in the end.
no, not totally. Well, no, it was actually really great. We ended up getting staying in a house like because it extended our stay, so we lost, it was a bummer, we lost our flights home, we had to rebook flights, and we were staying in an Airbnb, and she needed us out, so my brother-in-law had family friends that lived in Texas, and they let us stay at their house, and they had a pool in the backyard, and it was the most like amazing moment. We were just like, let's go swimming one day. So we went swimming and found out Kingston loves the water. Like just smiled the entire like hour and a half we were in the pool. And we've never seen him like smile that much. So we were like, okay, like we need a pool at home, I guess.
It was worth it. It was worth it. Well, I wonder if there's something like an underlying thing. Millie loves the water. There's a weightlessness probably that feels really good when it's harder with your body, but I mean, that little girl, so I love that. I love that
Mhm.
you found that. And I feel like it's a good example. I'm listening to you thinking, this is how special needs moms work.
Oh, yes.
Like, we make it, and then it was this wonderful thing. And it's
Yep.
like, yeah, it was hard, but that's how you have to do it, right? It's a good perspective.
Yeah, definitely. But
So, what was like, I mean, you kind of told us about what you did physically, like as a reaction, but what was your initial reaction to, so the seizure activity has continued.
Yeah.
and there's not medication that's stopping it. So
No, he's on like 7 different medications and I don't feel like it's touching it. And he just barely had surgery to put a VNS in, like a vagal nerve stimulator. Um, and we're not up to therapeutic level yet, but we don't feel like it's doing much.
and that system tends to take a while, right?
Yeah, it takes like 3-ish months to ramp up to full
Kind of start.
therapeutic
I don't
level.
really understand everything about it, but I did talk with a mom who was telling me it takes like, it is progressively help.
Yeah, yeah.
So
So
I need to figure out who that was I was talking to about it. I'll give you her name. She's on the
definitely.
group because she's got one too.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be
Um, I can't remember off the top of my head. It'll come to me in a minute. My
great. No
goodness.
worries.
Anyway, um, okay, so what was like your initial, so that's a really scary circumstance that you described. Like you're
Yeah,
nursing and your son's having seizures, and this is a 2 month old.
definitely.
So what's the initial kind of reaction for you as far as like just being a mom and doing this? This is your first child, right?
Yeah, and one on the way here within the next 3 weeks. So,
Congratulations. You look fantastic. I never would have even noticed. I guess
oh,
from here up, right?
yes,
That's
exactly.
good. If you can look good from here up 3 weeks out, you're doing really good.
Thank you. Yeah. Like I said, my initial reaction was like, holy cow, this is so scary. But being through it and finding all the different ways, so we can tell like what part of his brain that the seizure is happening because he has like so many different reactions to seizures
Yeah.
now that um you're kind of just like you've kind of found you just have to cuddle him and give him loves and say it's okay. Like there's not really much we can do, which is also heartbreaking.
Yeah, it's really hard to watch your kid go through something hard
Definitely.
and challenging. What has it been like as far as his development? What has it affected his development in what ways?
It's super bad to where like Kingston's, I would say he's probably at like a newborn, maybe a 6 month level. He really doesn't do much. He just kind of lays there and he'll move his arms around a little bit, doesn't move his legs around too much. But I mean, he's getting to where like, he hears our voice, mine and my husband's or my dad's or somebody's, and um, he'll look towards you a little bit, but it's not super often. And he smiles at you a little bit. It's kind of rare, but he smiles at you and but yeah, we've been told like he's gonna have a shortened lifespan. He's probably not gonna do much at all. So that's what we're prepared for.
Yeah, prepared for, but I bet you're pushing for more, right?
Yeah, exactly. And
Um, Sorry, go ahead.
no, we've been told too that having like a normal child could help him develop more. So that's kind of the
Yeah.
hope is that maybe this baby, if he doesn't have the same deletion, that he'll help him.
Yeah, well, that makes a new question. Like, is this something that you and your husband's genetics are involved in? Like,
Yeah, so we
okay,
were told that we didn't have it. So we were told that it's like less than 1% chance that it'll happen again, but the neurogeneticist was just like it's just a crazy fluke thing that happened.
right, yeah. Um, so what is his daily care? Is he fully G-tube fed?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
fully G2 fed. And then during the winter time, we found he's sick all the time, so he's on oxygen constantly during the winter time until it warms up. Um, so lots of
that does get better
auxiliary.
with age as they get bigger. So
Does
we
it?
were, yeah.
Oh, that's
Well, I guess I should say that, but then warn you that we were also in the hospital on high flow for the last week or so. So
I'm sorry.
not this last week, but the week before Christmas.
Oh,
But I do feel like we've had less, as they get better, there's a little more there's bigger,
mm,
just bigger lumps make it a little bit easier. But
that's good to
yeah, I
know.
think wintertime is really hard. I keep trying to convince my husband to move me somewhere there's not winter, but
That's my husband and I keeps thinking like, oh, we need to buy like a, we're only 28, but we're gonna be snowbirds and go somewhere warm. But
I know. Well, I got double on you, but I'm not, well, not quite, but almost, but I still am the same way. I'm like, I'm a little bit young, but I've got three adult kids. I could be a snowbird, right?
yeah, exactly.
So what do you think is the most surprising thing that you've learned through this?
I think one of the most surprising things is how often, like how common it is that little kids have seizures, like or these like genetic deletions. When we very first found out, it was kind of like, oh, like, we'll tell some people and if they ask or whatever, and then you start telling people and they're like, oh, my husband's sister's brother's daughter has this, or my neighbor has this, or I know somebody who has like seizures, and you're like, holy cow, like it's really common. And I never would have thought that.
I think anytime you have something, it's surprising how many, like how your world opens up, right?
Definitely.
And I think that's one of the things that I find comforting. It's actually one of the reasons we started the group is that there is some comfort in numbers,
Yeah.
right? Like we look on there, there's 200, 300 women who
Hmm.
are all not the exact same,
Yeah.
but doing a lot of appointments and doing things that you never knew. There's like this kind of beautiful little group of women that are real survivors
Yeah,
and
definitely.
really doing beautiful things for their kids. So sorry, I let's go back to your like what does a day look like? What do you guys do in a day? What does his care look like? Do you have nursing? So those are kind of two
Yeah.
questions.
So currently his care, he's kind of we've got a really weird sleep pattern going on that he falls asleep at like 4:30 in the afternoon and then he's up at like 3 a.m. So I'm up at 3 a.m. and it's not great going into having another baby that I will never be sleeping. um,
It's
but
getting you ready for it.
yeah, definitely. So he's up around 3 a.m. for a couple hours and then falls back asleep a little bit. But he sleeps a lot through the day, usually several naps, and when he's asleep, it's like he's asleep. You could I've taken him, we'll go grocery shopping or something, and he won't wake up at all. So
Yeah, those NICU babies, right? I think we've
exactly.
given Millie a bath while she's sleeping before.
Oh, yep, we've done that with Kingston lots of
I was
times.
like, well, you need a bath. I'm not
Yep.
kidding until you've had one.
Exactly. Um, but yeah, so we're up, and then usually at 7:30 we give him his meds, and that knocks him out. So I'll
Yeah.
take a little nap around that time if I don't have anything else going on. But we do have nursing coming 3 days a week. It's really helpful. There's Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for at least a couple of hours, and I'm able to go out and do things on my own or just relax or
Get grocery shopping done, I'm sure. Moms
definitely.
don't really relax.
No, no, not at all. It's
Yeah, so okay, so he's fully G-tube dependent and you said he's on oxygen most of the winter. What
yeah.
other things do you have going on at home? Like as far as do you have physical therapy coming in or occupational therapy?
Yep. So he's got physical therapy, vision therapy, and speech therapy, which is super great. They've really helped us, like I said, with his tracking, his eye tracking, and
Yeah,
physical therapy with his movements and helping me to know he does Botox. He's getting Botox because he's
Millie gets Botox too. They won't do it in me. I keep telling them I'll lay right there, miss.
yep. That's if they've got extras, I'd take it. But yeah, no, he's super super tight and his knees don't bend currently, so
Okay.
it's nice with a physical therapist. She's like, tell him to do this, this, and this. And you're like, okay, that's great. So it's really helpful and I really like it.
Yeah. Tell us about your vision therapy.
Miss Terry, she's super great. It's with Kids on the Move currently. They're just super great. They've been able to, like I said, help us track or help me make little cute little books of, do we wanna go grocery shopping or do we want to go to the park kind of thing and kind of
Has he been able to communicate?
not really. He
Not
doesn't
yet.
doesn't talk. But we are looking at getting like the Tobii Dynavox, like the little iPad that he can talk with, and
Yeah.
that's really fun. We did the trial period, and he was coloring and was telling us to blow bubbles, and he wanted more, and it was really cute.
Really? Oh, that's amazing. So he was communicating with that. We haven't gotten communication with the iPad yet. We have a new trial of a new one coming.
Oh.
So we've tried like three or four, but Millie's not really interested in communicating.
That's sometimes the very first couple of times me and my husband were just like, it's just like him having seizures. Like he's not knowing what he's pushing, but then seeing like him drawing and being like, can you find the red one? And he'll pick the red one or pick the green one, and it's super cute.
That's amazing. That's
Yeah.
amazing. See, these guys, they have more, way more than we. Millie does work her iPad like a genius. She opens, she knows where her movies are, and she makes them in little boxes and plays her ABC game. So
That's
we
awesome.
know there's something, but she doesn't want to talk with us yet. She's keeping it under wraps.
Well,
So can you share a story? I mean, you kind of just did, but I was thinking of maybe if you have another one that you've been thinking of like a meaningful moment or like a milestone that maybe you didn't think was going to happen, or that's been especially like significant in this process. And it can be either way, like a harder one or a great one.
um, I think like the ones that come to my mind right now is there's been a couple times he I really didn't think this would ever happen, but he's been at home with the nurse, and I come home and it's late and he's sleeping, and me and the nurse will be talking, and then all of a sudden he wakes up and just starts smiling and like looking for me, and you're like, oh my gosh, like he knows, like, and it's like that's a moment that you're just like, okay, like he knows I'm here. There's a little guy in there, like he's he's looking for me, and I really love that.
I love that because I agree with you. Like, you don't know if that's ever going to be something. So coping with this and being a parent of a child with special needs, it's super emotional and
Mm-hmm.
physically like draining. So when we talk, I ask a lot of people about self-care, and I'm not talking about like the spa. I think I always say that. I'm like, I'm not talking about this, but I'm talking about like, what do you do in order to keep perspective, in your life and be happy? I'm looking at you, you're smiling, you're happy. And, even I think it's something important to know that you're willing to have more children,
Yeah.
because I think people wonder about that. Like, are you, how do you kind of move forward with happiness into this, even with what you go through.
Yeah, it's I think a lot about I had a coworker before when I was pregnant with him that told me like it's okay, like if there's ever moments that you're really stressed out, like it's okay to just place them in a safe spot and just walk away for a minute. And I think about that a lot of all the time, just of like it's okay, like he's okay. I just need to step away. I need to go get myself a chocolate or like just take a breath, and there are definitely days that I need to do that or just go in the bathroom and just cry it out or something like that. But I think I often think a lot um Kingston just has this like spirit about him that just radiates so much love that you're just like, this is the only reason you were here. Like I just needed to, or and my parents and my husband's parents, like everyone can just feel like he just radiates so much love that you're like, that was like all you needed to be here for. Like I'm I I believe that there's a God and that like he's got a purpose, and yeah, Kingston just needed that. He didn't need to come, and he's so perfect that he didn't need to do anything. So um yeah, I often think that when things get hard, you're just like, I'm just here to give him the body, and he's supposed to I joke that he's my ticket into heaven because heaven, God knew that I couldn't do it on my own, so he sent me Kingston to get me into heaven.
I agree with you on the special spirit, and that sometimes you feel like it's a privilege.
Mm-hmm.
I think that you can look at it probably either way.
Yeah.
But I do agree with you that you find the joy in when you see the privilege it is to care for somebody
Yeah.
who's so special.
Yeah. And there has definitely been like really hard times of we have friends that have kids that are hitting their milestones and you're like, oh, like my son would be doing that or things like that. And there are definitely days that I drive away from their house bawling and but knowing that
Think it's good that you recognize it because I think that there is an importance to, and I feel like one of the other ladies that I was talking to kind of said the same thing in a way. I'm trying to remember how she said it, but that it's an important thing to take the grief as it comes.
yeah.
Because I think to pretend like it wouldn't be nice if they were hitting all the milestones is not going to make it go away.
Yeah, definitely.
And then that's kind of a pain that, so I think that like I've driven away crying. That probably resonates with a lot of mamas out there.
Oh, I'm sure. And it's I I do like I do agree. Like I feel like it is it's healthy to feel that grief and to let it come out kind of thing because bottling it up is just going to make things worse and I mean I've had
Sometimes
times
that
where
when we let it we like consciously say this is a sad thing, and then
mm-hmm.
you can move past it.
Yeah.
But if you're always saying, no, it's just wonderful, I think that you can't move past it because you feel like, um, and moms do this a lot to ourselves just in general. We
Mm-hmm.
like to kind of beat ourselves up for having feelings,
Yeah.
you
Exactly.
know, and probably especially that probably applies to special needs moms, I think, in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Like, we think, well, we're so lucky that our child survived,
Mm-hmm.
or we're so lucky, which is all true,
Yeah.
right? And then, so I like that. I think it's important for me. It's important to just recognize as it comes. I
Mm-hmm.
always tell my kids, I have a box, and like the really big ones, I like package up and I put on the shelf.
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes I get it out and I look at it and deal with it and take the stuff out that I can throw away,
Yeah.
But like some of them can just come in and out. Like, here it is.
Mm-hmm.
That's, and then just let it go.
Yeah, definitely.
I
And
like
that's
that.
yeah, that's one thing I love my husband, but I worry that like he men don't show their emotions. And I'm like,
No,
kid, you need to show me them. You need to
they
feel
don't.
this.
I don't know. I think they're so completely different from us in
Yeah.
so many ways. One of the things that has been really interesting this year. So my husband, Millie's was 4 in October. And this year, he is completely different as far as what he's willing to do for her care.
Wow.
So we've gone 3 years, but I think that they are a little like slower to have the feelings. And so maybe they don't have all of them right away.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what I've watched. I've been really interested because I have just a really, really wonderful husband. We have 7 children. So we had the 6 older ones,
Mm-hmm.
and I kind of watched him with them. And then with Millie, it took him a little bit longer
Mm,
to get really invested.
interesting.
Um, and then he was just really loving to kind of snuggle on her, but
Mm,
not the medical stuff as much.
that's
Um,
that's my
yeah,
husband. There are things that I'm like, dear, you need to know this. Like if I leave or if something happens to me, like you need to know. And he's just like, okay, like I'll learn it someday. Like one day I'm gonna be gone and it's just gonna you're not
today's
gonna
the
know what to
day.
do. Exactly. But
So
yeah,
I do wonder, they are so different though. It's interesting to watch my husband because he does have like good perspectives. I just really love when there's two parents,
yeah.
because I feel like they both bring something. Because I'm like the way over worrier.
Mm, yep,
You need that. With this situation, you need that. You have to
definitely.
have someone who's like way in.
Oh yeah. And that's how I am really struggling. Like I struggle letting Kingston go. Like anybody watching him, like even our families who like they know it. Like, and that's having this baby. Like when I go into, I've thought like when I go into labor, like he's gonna be by my side. Kingston's not leaving, and Colton's just like, no, like one of our parents is gonna take him, and I'm like, no, like they don't know what to do. Like, so it's definitely I'm a very over worrier that somebody's gonna screw things something up, but like it's you can't really screw him up. He's gonna be okay.
I struggle with that too. And for a long time I was trying to put my finger on why is it exactly that I'm kind of like that or that I have. And one of the things that I've kind of come to is wondering if I know that bad things happen when I'm there and I know everything
Yeah.
is to know about her. Right. Like, I mean, in my mind, I know everything. I'm sure I'm missing, but like if anybody can know the most about her, it's me.
Mm-hmm.
And I have bad things happen when I'm with her.
Yep.
And so I think there's also a protectiveness for the people around you. I don't
Mhm.
want you to fall into a situation where you think you've done something.
Yeah, definitely.
There's probably a little bit of both. So so you said you found these other four families. What kind of advocating have is that group doing for this particular genetic disorder deletion, right?
Yeah. So it's been really helpful. We with getting trying to do the VNS before we talked with the neurologist about it. I messaged on there was just like, hey, has anybody heard anything about it? Um, and unfortunately, nobody had really heard much. But there's two families over in Europe and then two families out east somewhere. Um, and it's been really nice that they're like, oh, like we found this regimen of medications and we've been seizure free for 6 months to a year. And you're like, oh, so it's hopeful to know that like we just need to find the right regimen and we can be seizure free. So it's really helpful to have that kind of background of
That
knowing like
support.
there
Yeah,
is
I
hope
think
for
that
it.
that's really great when you can find. I mean, the internet has really been amazing for that kind of thing. That you
Yeah.
can find some support in that way.
Yeah.
Are the kids older than Kingston?
Yeah, there's a couple of them that are a couple years older, but I think there's one of them in Europe is like 21, 22-ish.
Wow. Okay.
But she has like a list of like other problems too, and factor one is just part of it. But yeah, so it's nice.
That's really cool. We don't have a diagnosis, so we're kind of like, but I think it's great when I hear that people have them because
Mhm.
I do think that that support is helpful and maybe gives you a little bit of a perspective of what could be. Like you were saying, I really like that. So, what are some of the biggest challenges that you guys face, like on a daily, and then also kind of going forward? Like, what do you kind of foresee with your new baby?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. Um, I think just like a daily is just making sure, he's like I said, he's kind of sick through the winter, so making sure he's not throwing up and aspirating or stuff like that. Um, but so I think just really the worry, like for me, just the biggest is like worry of like I'm gonna be in the other room and he's gonna throw up and or um or somebody's watching him and like my biggest fear is that somebody will be watching him and he's gonna die and I'm not gonna be there and that will like crush me. Um, but that's one thing like why Colton and I decided to start having more kids is just like if Kingston dies, like I will not I won't be able to move on. And so having other kids is something that's gonna get me to keep going on. Um, but then the worry with having another baby is my husband is a very hard worker. He, you know, works a lot. He's got a normal job and then he's flipping a house currently, so he is working 24 hours a day and he sleeps through the night and when Kingston's awake my husband is out cold and I said when we have another baby like you're gonna have to get up and help me like I can't do both kids on my own so a little worried about that.
yeah, yeah. Um, so I'm just like, I really love I love like your whole story of everything. I think it's really great and uplifting
Yeah.
to hear. Just I don't know, like I just think it's really good
Thank
so
you.
far. Um, so you said you have family in town that helps a lot,
Yeah.
um, which I think is just amazing
Yeah.
to have family and nursing as well. I think that those are two really good things for you. Um, so how do you well, I'm not gonna. So what do you think like if you're looking at you a few
Mhm.
years ago, what are you wanting to like tell yourself? What would you tell yourself? Like, oh, it's weird, right?
Yeah, definitely. Um, I don't know. Like, I feel like maybe I wish I would have a little bit more confidence in myself. Like, I know I'm doing great. I'm a great mom, but there are definitely days where I'm just like I'm failing. Like my house is a mess. My like I don't ever want to do the dishes. I sleep all morning just because I'm awake with him all night and stuff like that. But I think having more confidence in myself that like I'm doing this the way I can do this. Like, yeah, there's other moms that maybe are doing it better, but like I they're doing it differently than I am. So it's okay. Like,
I think that's such an important thing, especially with this, because I think even if we have similar disorders, it's really hard to pinpoint what would be better.
yeah, definitely.
And
And
I don't know that like somebody could ever do anything better than, you
no.
know, and you're given this specific responsibility.
Yeah,
And I think it's very anyway, I just think it's really good that you have like this responsibility is for you. And I
yeah.
don't think anyone else could do it better.
Thank you.
I no, for real. I think that's a true thing. I think we're each given what we are supposed to. You touched a little bit on this, and I always want to talk to people about this, but I wait for them to bring it up. But you've touched on it twice about, you know, kind of the idea that he may not survive as long as other kids, right?
Yeah, yeah,
His lifespan looks different. And I
yeah.
know that I've heard a couple of people talking about like um how they process that. And that I guess that would be one of the things that I put in that big box that I take out sometimes and think about. And then a lot of times I just leave it in there.
Yeah.
But when you do you have any like thoughts or ideas about how to kind of how you've processed that or how you think about it?
Um, I don't know. I like thinking about it, like I said, it's just like it's terrifying, especially the fact of like, what if I'm not there? Like, I can't not be there. Um, and so yeah, that it's it makes it hard to let him go, to let him be with family or to be with the nursing. Um, but I don't know. It is also crazy to think like I there are times that I think about it and then I force myself to be like, no, it's not going to happen. Like he's going to live a long life. It's going to be great. And my husband and I, have plans to build a house in the future and stuff like that. And so then we're like, oh, like we're going to build a house that has bigger doorways or, our bedroom is going to be a little bit longer so he can have his little area or we're going to have a pool so he can swim and stuff like that. Um, so I really love that aspect of like he's still part of my future plans. Like
Yeah.
I can't let him go that way. But then it is also the fact of like, oh, we just got life insurance for him. And then, a 2-year-old has life insurance. I never would have thought that. Or thinking about like, when we buy burial plots, like we're gonna need to buy 3 of them. Um, so it is it's hard, but I don't know, like I said, that I've thought about it enough to know that like I needed I needed to have other kids to keep pushing me along, or else I probably would go into quite a depressive, really hard
Yeah.
space if he die when he dies.
I think that that's thank you for I know that's a really hard that's a hard question. It's definitely hard to think about, and it's definitely harder to talk to somebody you don't know very well.
No. No.
But I think I really appreciate you sharing it, because I think that's a thought process. In fact, when you were talking, I was like, this is exactly what it means to expect the best and prepare for the worst.
Mm-hmm.
Like every step you were talking about, but I like that you broke it down to like, these are the things that I can control.
Mm-hmm.
And control having this, this, and this, but I'm not going to then pretend like my future plans should be without him. And I like that. I think that's a really good perspective. I really appreciate you sharing that. I know that's kind of a difficult one to share, but I think that is something that we all think about a lot, is like, how do we not fall into the like, well, they may not be here,
Mm-hmm.
and so still I like that. I like that forward thinking of like, of course he's going to be here.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
then that one's hard, because I do fall into that too. I kind of go up and down, where I'll be like, okay, what does it look like when my husband and I talked about our daughter? She's a daughter. So we talked about puberty and what that looks like,
Oh, yeah.
and kind of going through that. And then we went back and forth, like, and hoping that that is something we have to deal with.
Yeah, exactly.
Like hoping that our future is that far along. So
Yeah.
I think that that's, anyway, I really appreciate you sharing it. I know that's kind of a hard one. And just I guess in wrapping up, is there anything that like you want to say that you really have felt like you want to share, that maybe I haven't asked the right question for? I don't mean it in the negative. I mean, like, just like,
No,
you know, is
I
there
think
something about your life or your experience that you want to share?
no, I think just like talking to other moms, like just know you're not alone because it is a scary, dark, like it's a really hard place to be in to have I'm not gonna cry. um to have a medically complex kid because yeah, going to the grocery store, it's not a quick 5 minute trip. I'm at least 45 minutes no matter if I'm just going for milk or if I'm going for like a lot of things. And the hard part of everyone staring at you that I've got my train of him in his wheelchair and then the car behind me. I'm a long boat that I need to maneuver around a lot, but um, just knowing that you're not alone, that there are so many moms out there that feel the same way and that have the experiences and that like can give you help and be someone to talk to. It's been super nice being on like this group as well as with his therapies. They have like a mom group in Utah County that I've been able to connect with some of the moms that it's like, wow, somebody that knows how I feel. Because you can go and tell your mom everything, but she still doesn't fully know it. And I love my mom, but it is hard sometimes, or you're just kind of like, mom, you don't understand. like, but
Well, it's really almost impossible. I think it's impossible for anyone to understand that doesn't do it all the time. And it's nice when you find a group of women that you can say, therapy and getting in the car today was hard. And they're like, oh yeah,
oh yeah, or
like it took everything out of your whole physical body to make that happen today.
yeah, definitely. And even like with primary children's, they're great, but I've had some struggles and talking with the little mom group here in Utah that they're like, yep, we got tired of primaries, like we went out of primaries, and like, oh, so then it's a thought of like, oh, I can go out of primaries, like there are other clinics that I can go to. So
That's why I love this group too, because there's moms from so many ages.
mhm.
Like we have older kids through younger, and I feel like the younger ones have a lot of like younger kids. They're like, I'm finding all these things. So you can hear like new stuff from them, but then the other ones are like, just
Yep.
it's good. It's good to find, but I think you're right. Like you're not going to, it's not going to happen in your neighborhood.
No, no, definitely not.
There aren't going to be that many. I mean, here, we have women across the whole country, and it has been for me really, really valuable in that
Yeah.
to hear. And that's one of the reasons we did this podcast, is just to hear like I like to listen to other people. I don't mean it in a mean way. Like I don't want to hear
No.
people have bad things, but it's that I want to hear other people and how they are dealing and how they're like processing. I just really enjoy other people's stories. And I'm anyway, I'm just really glad that you came on. And I am so excited for your new baby.
Thank you. We're super
So
excited.
exciting. Boy, is it a boy too?
Yes, it's another
Okay.
little boy. We're super.
Fun. So you have clothes or
Yes, I've
something.
already got everything pretty much for him, so it's a breath of fresh air that way.
Yeah, that makes it a little bit easier. And I don't envy your sleepless nights. Well, we're still sleepless over here, so
One
not
day.
like newborns. Newborns are a different breed of
Oh
sleepless.
yes. Oh yes. Well, and that's the hard part when Kingston was, before we knew that he had this deletion, he he wasn't eating great. So, they tell you, oh, feed him every 3 hours. Well, I'd be up in the middle of the night trying to feed him and he wasn't latching or he was just falling asleep on me. And then I'd be falling asleep in the chair. And I woke up one morning and was just like, I called my mom, was just like, Mom, like he's not eating. And she's like, Caitlin, just let him tell you when he's hungry. So then it got to like every 5 hours that he was eating. And I was like, this is okay. And the doctors are like, he's not gaining any weight. Like you need to feed him more. And then come to find out his with his deletion, it was like, oh, I'm starving my child.
So
So
how did that, I mean, we were wrapping up, but we have like 10 more minutes. So maybe we can, how did that happen? Because you said he was eating. And so, but now he's not cleared for eating at all, right? Is
yeah,
that,
no.
so how did that process, how did that happen from eating to, I don't
Well,
know.
it was kind of like um he was eating a little bit, but definitely not enough. Like he was born at 5 pounds 3 ounces, and then at like his 6 month checkup, he was like 5 pounds 4 ounces. Like he didn't gain any weight at all. Um, and there were days like when I went back for maternity leave, we had family watching him, and they'd be like, "Oh, he ate like an ounce today." And you're like, "Only an ounce? Like you've had him for like 8 hours, and you only ate an ounce?" But yeah, so then we took him into the hospital in this was July of 23, and because he was sick or something, and the doctors are just like, he needs a G tube. Like you have to do this. And my husband had a mission companion that had a G tube, so he knew about it and he was all on board with it. And I was like paranoid, like,
On his mission?
yes,
Wow, now that has got to be super rare.
yeah, and that's what
That's
I
kind of neat that your husband was like,
yeah,
that's
my
a cool
husband
story.
knew about it and was just
I
like,
think
nah,
it was
this is
weird.
totally fine. This is great.
Wow.
Yeah. And like I said, I was paranoid, like, oh my gosh. And I didn't want to like give him this G tube to make him dependent on the G tube. I wanted him to taste things, but yeah, it came to where the doctors are just like, no, like if you try feeding him, like he's gonna choke on it and he'll aspirate it and it won't
Does
be.
he have really low tone then as well?
His like so his like high tone. So his muscles, like his arms and legs are like stiff. Like putting him in a chair or something, like you've got to bend him in half pretty good. But yeah, he doesn't swallow well.
Okay.
And
Yeah, we're Millie's low tone from head to waist
oh,
and then high tone legs.
oh dang.
So I know a little bit about like the, when she's not bending, she's not bending.
Oh yeah, we have times when you're like, oh, I guess we're not going anywhere for 5 minutes because we got to get you to bend.
Especially when the Botox wears off, right?
Oh yes, that is the worst part.
I know. I'm like, I can always tell. It's coming. I can see. We're so much harder.
Yeah. And Kingston with his seizures, he keeps his head to the right. And so to where like pulling his head to the left, like he winces like it hurts him so bad. And then so we're starting to do Botox in the left side of his neck and it's helping him pull it over.
Is
But
it?
yeah,
I've
it's
been
been
really impressed with the Botox. They said some kids it works and some it doesn't. And I was so happy that with Millie it works really well. Like
oh yeah.
her feet, we get almost a complete 90-degree.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, really comfortably. Without it, I mean, it's impossible to get her that. So
Yeah.
it's like,
That's
is he doing any standards or anything like that? What is
yeah. Yeah, we do have a stander that he stands in.
They're miserable. I
Yes.
always feel like I'm in doing some sort of torture device to my child. Like,
Yeah,
this thing. But I
definitely.
do think it helps, right? So has he got a
Yeah.
little bit of head control? You were saying he moves it, but does he have some head control?
A little bit. We work on it. We try and work on it, holding him and try and kind of hold on his trap that kind of
Yeah,
pushes it
that's
to get
where they
in
get
to
soft.
keep his head up. But yeah, there are definitely times where it's just like whoop and his head
Yeah.
goes straight back.
And you said he's in a wheelchair. Is he able to move that at all by himself, or is that just your
Nope. Yep. It's all us.
okay? And I do have this is a personal question. I'm kind of getting personal because
Okay.
I'm super curious now, right now. So what wheelchair do you have? Do you love it?
We have the Zippy Iris, and
The
I
zippy?
got it right here.
Oh yeah, let me see.
Well,
Hello.
well, if you can see it.
Hello. What a cute
Oh,
guy. Okay.
turn away. Yeah, that's Kingston, and I do like it. I do like that it's kind of more compact, and he can recline
Yeah.
a lot more, or he can sit pretty well straight up, and it fits
Okay,
the
I'm gonna look at it.
definitely.
I was looking yesterday. We were at therapy, and there was two little kids in different ones. I'm like, let me see what you guys have. We have a stroller right now, so it's a medical stroller, but
There we go.
she uses her walker a lot, but she
Okay.
gets tired,
Mm,
and
makes
so it's
sense.
not always an option. And the strollers are so big. These
Mhm.
little wheelchairs are kind of.
Yeah.
I guess now I can think of as zippy because you've said that. I'm like, they're kind of zippy. They're
No, yeah, I like say I do like it, and they have lots of like modifications they can do to it. So it's super nice. They were telling us, we put hooks on it for his bags, and they can put like an
cool.
oxygen tank on it and everything like
That's really nice because that was what um we were on oxygen for a while.
that.
Again, we got off of it. Do you know Millie was probably just a little bit older than Kingston when
Oh, there
she
you
got off
go.
oxygen. She came home with oxygen and was probably until after she was two that
Mm.
she was off of it.
That's we came he came home on oxygen, but then about the summer hit and we didn't need it anymore, and so then we came off of it, and then winter hit and he got sick, and and
Do you
we're on
know
it all the time.
do you know what's weird? I always feel like it's a personal failing when we have to go back on oxygen, which is a weird thing. What can
Yes,
I do?
that's exactly. You're like,
Do you feel the same way now? I'm
yeah,
like, she's on oxygen. I've done something.
yes.
What could I possibly have done? Like, I can't condense her lungs. Like,
No. Well, and that's he's got some scoliosis going on too, and we just found out his one of his hips is kind of popping out, and we went to an orthopedic surgeon, and he was just like, I don't want to put him in a brace because it's going to constrict his lungs, and he's not going to be able to breathe or grow very well. And yeah, with his hips, his Kingston's legs are not great at like opening up,
yeah,
so Botox has at least gotten us to where diaper changes are a little easier, but there's no way we could put him in a brace to get his hip popped back in. So
yeah.
the doctor's just like, well, we'll just have to wait till he's like 10 or so, and then we'll probably be doing some big surgeries. Like, oh, great.
Like, thanks. Why don't you tell me when we're 10? Like, why are we talking about
I know,
I have enough to think about right now.
I know exactly. It's your. I've had moments where it's like it's a scare of like, oh my gosh, like he's gonna be having this huge surgery on his spine, and then on his yeah, his spine and his hips, and but then I'm just like, it's okay. It's not for a really long time. It's
Yeah,
okay. I don't need to think about it right now.
yeah. That's a really hard thing too, because they do tell you, they're like, well, and then we'll do this and this and this. And you're like, when? In 10 years? I don't want to talk about 10 years. Why don't we talk about this year? Like, only
Yep,
give me information if it's this year.
yep, exactly.
Otherwise, write it in the chart and I'll look at it whenever I feel like.
Yep, exactly. Future plans.
Well, I know, right? It's too much. I think sometimes, especially recently, like they'll give me lots of information. And I'm like, it's too much. I need
Mhm.
it condensed.
Yep.
You're gonna have to give me the Cliffs notes and write the rest.
I'll read your chart note later.
Yeah, and you're like, maybe I will, and maybe I won't. But
Yep.
I'm hoping that I will. I will be responsible, and I. Um. Anyway, Well, that's awesome to see his chair. Um, how do you put him in the chair in the car, or do you
No,
no?
no, currently we take him out of the chair and put him in his car seat and then put him in the chair when we're out of it. When we're out
Or
of the
no.
car.
And do you have like I've got this thing on the back of my car that I put the walker on. What do you do
Mm.
with your car?
I just I don't know how great it is right now being pregnant, but I just put it right into my
In the
truck.
back of your car?
Just lift it in the back of my truck, which is nice because it does condense down the wheels. The bigger wheels come off, and you can fold down the
Yeah,
handle.
that's what I've been well, anyway, yeah, we've all done a bunch of it. So I'm bruised up all the time. I've
Oh
always
yeah,
got some sort of bruise. But I don't know if you should do that when you're pregnant. Now I'm all worried about it.
you know. Well, that's okay. We're doing
It's
okay.
already done. Don't
Yeah,
worry
there's
about
and
it.
that's what I've feared that I'll go to the OB and he'll be like, okay, like you can't lift anything over like 25 pounds, and I'll be like, well, there goes my child. Like I
Yeah,
can't.
that's not happening. I when I was pregnant with the twins, I had my kids were so my first six were 7 when like my oldest was 7 when the twins were born. So they were 7 and under, 6, 7 and under.
Okay.
And
Thanks.
that's what the doctor said something after my C-section. I'm like, okay.
Like, I
There's
like
like 4 kids at home that need to be lifted.
yeah. Yeah, that's the moment when you're like, well, I guess I'm ruining my body even more because
But you've made it already. I mean, you're already there.
yeah.
Like your baby's due any day. You're like
Yeah,
3 weeks, you can have the baby.
I could
So
do it.
was Kingston, he wasn't early at all, right? You said he
He
wasn't
was
early.
actually. He was 3 weeks early.
How
So
many?
3. So well, and that was kind of a funny story. We went in to the OB at my 35 week and 36 week. It was right before Christmas, and we were going to my parents' cabin for Christmas. And the OB checks me, and I was 3 centimeters dilated, and so and he's just like, okay, like he could come any day now. And my husband, we were leaving the appointment, and my husband looks at my belly and he points. He goes, "You're not ruining my Christmas." And Kingston came at 3 a.m. The day after Christmas. So it
Oh,
was
he
just like,
did. So he
yeah,
waited. What a nice boy.
I know. I was like, well, he listened to you at least. So
So he just barely turned 2. So your kids are like exactly 2 years apart almost.
yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay. Well, I'm excited. I'm super excited to hear. You're gonna have to message the group when you have this baby. And
definitely.
hopefully it won't be like today, like I didn't set anything in motion. It won't be like,
I would be okay with that. I'm at like the very like uncomfortable, everything
oh,
hurts and I can't sleep, and so I'm
I
okay if he
know.
came today.
It's kind of a hard thing though, right? Like for me um when I was with the twins, I was like, I don't know if you guys are better in or out.
Yeah,
Like I'm super uncomfortable, but maybe
yeah.
you should say
I know. I'm at that point where it's just like it's probably best that you stay in, but I'm done with.
it's gonna make your grocery store trips even more like
Oh
we're such a production. I think you just have to get over, right? You're just
yeah,
like, whatever, this is what we look like. We're a production everywhere we
exactly.
go.
Like if people want to sit and gawk at me like I'm a circus show, like go ahead, but
You should
you know I
learn a tap routine so I can give you something more fun to look at.
exactly, and I'd love to see other people do what we do because
No, yeah.
it's it's
I think that most people really want to, they maybe want to help and they don't know how.
hmm
Or they're maybe super curious.
yeah.
No, it's hard to imagine. Now that you're in it, you're like, I don't know what I would like. Yeah. I don't think I paid attention a lot. I'm not a really gawker. I don't pay a lot of attention.
I try not to be because I know knowing how it feels when people gawk at me. I'm like I try not to be too much of a gawker, or like it's if it were part of my business, like somebody would be flagging me down to help them, but they're not, so it's not my
Yeah.
business.
Yeah. I think have you had good experiences with I will wrap up. Sorry, I know I've kept you over the hour, but have you had like good experiences with people? Because I know we've all had the bad ones.
Yeah,
So we all know what those sound like and what they're like. But I love it when we have good ones because I think the good ones are more rare.
yeah, yeah. There's some people that are like super good and super helpful, and but then some people you're just like, no, like please just leave me be. Like I got it handled. And
Yeah.
there
There's
was there was
There,
one
I feel
time,
like it's nice when you get um somebody. I think you always can tell if they're maybe they have a special needs kid at home. And
yeah,
it's like, oh, you know this.
yeah,
There's something different. There's in this little community.
yeah.
Anyway, I'm gonna let you go because we've gone over, but I just really, really, and next time in Utah, maybe we should get together.
Yes,
Like
please.
I
I
have
love
three
it.
adult kids who live there. So
I
I've
love
heard
it.
some things. I would love to meet you in person.
Yes, that would be awesome.
It'd be great to anyway. So thank you so much. I'm so glad you've joined the group. And
Thank you.
I'm gonna work on that name. I'm pretty sure it's Vanessa, but let me make sure.
So,
Because I'm gonna say, do you know she's on? I'm gonna send you her information.
okay,
But they got that same thing.
the VNS.
The I was thinking VS and I'm like, it's wrong. VNS. Yeah, they got that too. And so it would be good for you guys to connect.
Definitely, I'd love it. It'd
I'm
be really
sure
cool.
she would love that. I think her son's a little bit older than yours, but I know that she got it and she was really worried about it not working.
Mm.
And I think it started to work.
Oh, that's good.
I mean, I don't want to like oversay because it could
Mhm.
be, but I remember her saying she felt like there was some that he was finally, but it took a while. And
Mm.
I feel like I'll get it to you.
Yes, please do. I would love it.
Okay, I will. Anyways, it's been so wonderful. Tell me
Thank
your
you.
mom's name again. You said your mom was in my ward?
Yes, Joanna. Joanna Rothy.
I know Joanna.
Yes, that's my
Oh,
mom.
I didn't realize she's your mom. Oh, she's so
Mhm.
sweet. You have the sweetest mom.
Yes, she's great. I
She
love
is
her.
really great. I don't know why I didn't make any of the connections.
Well, no worries at all. It's
But no, oh, I'm so glad. Thank you for joining. Thank you for being willing to do this. I
yeah,
know that sometimes it feels awkward, but I really know that lots of women sit and listen and it makes them happy.
it's good.
And
I'm
that
hoping that I can help someone because
yeah.
what I've learned is a lot.
You're doing so good and I'm so
Thank you.
excited for you and your second baby and
Thank you.
it'll be an interesting experience to have a different experience with the baby.
Definitely. It'll be my family jokes that it's like going to be like having the first child over again, that I'm not going to know what to do.
No, yeah, and I keep telling my kids because all my older kids play with Millie,
Mm.
and one of them was like, "Oh, I have to watch Millie," and I'm like, "Yeah, she sits there.
Yeah, you're
Like,
like,
wait till you guys have children. This is
exactly.
not what your children are going to be like. They are going to be running around, pulling everything down." And they were started laughing. They're like, "You're right. We have no like. We're going to think that we can just set them in their wheelchair and be
Yep. They
there. You
said,
are. I'm like, you're not going to be able to go potty."
"No, not alone. You're never gonna." Oh, it'll be so
So
good.
it'll be fun. It'll be super fun
Yeah.
to for you to see all of that stuff too. It's fun. Those kids, you'll be surprised how fast the milestones go.
Oh, I'm excited for that.
It'll be fun. You'll really enjoy it. Oh, I'm so excited for you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It was
And
wonderful to talk to you.
it was nice to see you.
Tell your mom hello.
I will definitely.
All right.
All right. Bye bye. Have a good day.